Get this shit on the road, dude. All right. Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, Tartaria, Australia. Hello, Mr. Autodidactic.
Hello, hello. I'm all the
Yeah,
way across Australia.
that's right. We're not next door anymore.
No,
Campbell has taken his flight far away to the furthest point possible in Australia.
man, the most isolated city in the world, they say.
Yep. And I know you've just gone to all the effort to put up a background, but show them what your dome's transformed into. Because he looks like he's
It's,
gone from
it's very
the igloo
bad.
dome and of sustainable earth living to basically the white shackles of a mental asylum.
Yeah, pretty bad, right? It's very, yes, yes, very white room. So we'll need to get some pictures up on the wall, I think. The color in here.
So, Mr. Autodidactic, Mr. Purvis, here we are committing to our Friday session. See, we are turning a new leaf.
We're being very good. We missed it by a day last week, but we did our first live.
Ah, it's awkward,
Which
Campbell.
the second half was much better than the first half, I think. So if you're going to watch it, if you haven't seen it, feel free to fast forward.
Yeah, because basically I spent the first half just sort of like wibbling around and not comfortable, and I couldn't find my spot, and I didn't know if I was talking to Campbell or the screen or it was just like I realized I must be quite a one-dimensional
Mm.
podcaster.
Yeah,
Like
man. You started off like so I could see us both, and you freaked out and ended up sitting with only half your face in the screen.
well, just that where I found myself, I was comfortable, and then like only put me in half the screen, but I was comfortable so I could talk. But it was a very bizarre experience for me. Yeah, I just seem to like get confused if I'm not speaking to you. Like if you're not there in front of me while I'm actually having conversation, it's a bizarre. I feel like I'm just rambling over here on the corner.
Mm. Yeah, man. They're yeah, you got to get used to them. They're a bit different, the old lives, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Weirder when you're by yourself and you're just sitting in a room by yourself talking away to people, and it can get strange sometimes, but that's all right. We did it. Will we do
yeah,
it
we
again? We don't know. We'll do it
well
on
look
a
it's
stage live, that's for sure.
yeah, I mean essentially that's our stage show, but it's more like interactive because I don't have to sit still, Campbell. I walk like I was doing with you.
Yeah, pacing around. Uh,
I get to like march around on the stage and have fun on the stage, and it's much more suiting my energy field. I like it a lot. I like it
mm,
a lot. Yep.
yes, yes. And talking about that, we are going to be doing a live event in November.
Yes, in November. It's so so slow, but we've decided on the month, people.
Getting
You know,
there, we're getting there.
it's just been a really busy time. Like we both just are in the process of shifting everything and just throwing everything up in the air and having it land and juggle all of that until it all settles again. And for me, that won't be till probably the end of September. Um, you
Yep.
know you're kind of settling now. You'll be able to settle in for the next couple of
I'm pretty
months.
good now. Yep, yep. But yes, yes, you're moving to Mullaney. You're back in the woodshed at the moment, but yeah, we spent what 4 days in Mullaney and very cool. And we went out to Mullaney Lane and we met some subs, some people that were at the live show and another some community people. So, we'll keep you updated, but possible we might even do a couple of live podcasts from
Ah,
the stage
yeah.
in Mullaney, man.
I mean, Mulaney's fucking rocking. Like, hats off. I mean, taking the show to Mulaney that even showed us Mulaney. We didn't never seen it before, but it's
Mm,
like we keep saying this Mulaney thing, Mulaney. But in actual fact, it's just this really cool, certainly high frequency um environment at
mm.
the top of a mountain on the Sunshine Coast. And yeah, it's just got a really kick-ass, sophisticated hippie community that, like it's got the largest percentage of co-ops in Australia. It was voted the friendliest town in Australia. It has a living art festivals where everyone's out there on their easels. It's just organic to the max.
Yeah,
and really cool like galleries and shops, and just it's just that dynamic energy. It's very cool.
it is. Yeah, we spoke to a few people, and it sounds like the council are even called up there. They're actually, trying to help build the town up, which is very different from where we've come from. So it looks like a good little area, growth area, and they're in for, like, they're looking literally for people to get involved and do shows and live events and help build stuff up. So no doubt when I get back there, Kelly will have a whole itinerary laid out of events in Mullaney, but
Yeah,
it's
because that
good.
that Mullaney Lane is like it's like a alleyway that they've built up with food, different food vendors from around the world, and then a stage, and they do open mic nights and live performance, and it's BIO and it's under the stars, and there's just it's just really great, and it would be a really great venue to do our podcasts again, but they would be live, so then maybe I'll be weirded out and it won't work, but like we could kind of do a live mini show
Mini
as a
show, yeah.
podcast, like a 2 hour podcast just on stage and get that filmed. So it could be really cool because it would be super excellent if we did that once a month and had like a full crowd there from the area. This be like a
Mm.
mini community. So the whole point of all of these live shows, Campbell and I are pushing for in the next 12 months. And we are gonna push ourselves. And Campbell's always very confident that all will go perfectly well because he's completely untraumatized by any past life reality. I, on the other hand, I just have to surrender to the idea that I always worry that that won't be the case, and we may get 10 people there, and that's okay because it's all right. But we've never had that happen.
You've been wrong every time.
But the purpose of the live pushing all these live events, because it's a big mission to travel around Australia, do live events. It's not like an easy, it's always a lot of travel and there's a lot of coordination. It like knocks out a week of every month of next year for us. And like it's a big commitment, but we want to do these community events because we are inspiring and attempting to inspire a much larger stadium event. And which is like so unbelievably huge and scary that like even Mr. Autodidactic up there is
Yeah,
is nervous by the scale.
a little bit. Yeah, yeah. So the plan is, if you haven't heard, we want to hire a stadium, like a football stadium, like a big, as basically as big as we can get it. Kelly wants a
Like
hundred
yeah,
thousand, but we've
100,000.
looked around. We could get one for 50,000, maybe a bit more, but so some of it might have to, I don't know, go in line online if we can't get a stadium big enough. But yeah, man, a lot of the research has been done, so we've now got to drum up 100,000 people who are willing to come and see us, basically.
Holy mother of God. Holy shit. And the only rationale I can like share on that kind of concept, because it is ridiculous. It's so unbelievably lofty that it's unimaginably impossible to create, right? It's literally an impossible thing before breakfast. And like from Alice in Wonderland,
Mm.
6 impossible things before breakfast. But like the idea is so ridiculous that I can only offer that this will occur because you guys know it's part of your destiny this lifetime. Like it's about you guys going, holy shit, that's a ridiculously impossible concept. Imagine if 100,000 of us were together with our collective consciousness and we had a wonderful stage event together. And trust me, it will be wonderful. It would tick off every box that Campbell and I personally would be absolutely ignited with inspiration and love if we were experiencing ourselves. Like how
Mm.
if we can bring in every hue of compassion, of inspiration, of truth, of consciousness, of destiny, of legacy, of our, of knowing our sovereign power and put it into a stadium where we are together physically, what could happen from that? What would possibly occur because of that ridiculous, lofty moment together? That's a interception of destiny right there.
Yeah, yeah, the frequency. We just want to generate a massive frequency and see if we can, affect reality with it. We've all heard the stories of the meditators that went to some American city, I think 100 of them, and meditated for a couple of days, and they changed all the crime rates and all this kind of stuff. And of course, the whole bread and circuses, right? Like they give us sports and fill up these stadiums for a reason, get us focusing all the energy on it, outside people. And oh my God, that dude who can hold a ball and run down the field is so much better than me. Look at the millionaire. Oh. So what if we get there, but we put our intention into it and we have a good time? Like that's what we want to do. See if we can literally affect change, right? We do this and then everything changes.
I
So
mean, imagine if this ridiculous idea, this insane idea coming from two tiny little podcasters who've done these in relation to the scale of this one, tiny little events,
yeah.
and just even have the fortitude to even imagine this could be possible and risk it. Because for Campbell and I to move forward with this, the next 12 months is as many community live events as we can like fit in,
Yeah.
meeting as many of you guys as we possibly can, bringing you together just with the forging the way from one group to the next, to the next, to the next. It, like Campbell and I were literally, and Dale, of course, when he's coming.
Hi, Dale.
We don't even ask him. We just like expect him to be. So like, yeah, I mean, like we're forging these townships and these communities together, our energy going from one to the other, to the next, to the next. And so often, so many of you will come to more and more events, like you've come already to 3 or 4 and flown in just to be a part of the space and enjoy the community. Well, we love that so much. And like, and then connecting all the healers and the modalities as they flood into the live events, and then, drinking wine at the end of the night and enjoying each other's company and speaking to the wee hours, and then, getting up and doing it, doing it all over again is, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And it's part of this commitment. We're also going to do the England tour. So, we don't even know if we even have a community in England.
No,
All right.
let us know in
So
the comments. Hello, everyone from the UK.
so, but Cam and I are keen. We just intuitively feel keen to spend a couple of weeks in England around this time next year, so September. And then our final probably sort of big push would be to hit America for a couple of weeks and, unite our little communities wherever they are over there. And then like inspire you all to understand that there is a moment in this lifetime. There is a moment in this lifetime that you committed to being a part of. And you came here to ignite the change. You came here to do whatever you were meant, like, and no one really knows what it was or is that we are meant to do. There's no clear instructions there apart from whatever it is, it originates from love. That's all we've got at this point, that love is always and always will be the highest frequency and the frequency of our source, of our creator. Correct? That's all we've got.
Creation, yeah, which is where this all sort of stemmed from, is imagining the future that we want, right? Like we've got to imagine the future we want into existence. Rather than running around and yelling at people and pointing out what's wrong, we need to go in the direction we want. And America, hey, geez, he sprung that one on me.
Yeah, of course. We've got to get to America.
Geez, I think we'll have to do the Balkans again, man. I
Dorothy's in
went out for
America,
dinner
man.
and had 2 subs in Visico in the middle of Bosnia in the restaurant. They went there because they heard I was going.
Yep.
Range, man.
Yeah, man. There's people in Europe. Anyway.
Let us know if you're in
We've
the
got
UK.
some really beautiful friends in America now, as courtesy of our Bosnian tour and courtesy of your travels.
Yep.
And yeah, America definitely would be the next
Man,
keystone to this.
America, let's do America. America's fun.
So basically, the key to the success of something like this comes down to, I feel, some very important things, which is why it's about bringing us together. Like we can sit here on these podcasts to the whenever the change happens, right? But it's very different energetic that comes out of you, out of your physical form, that floods out of you like a waterfall. It's very different when you're sitting here watching us alone in your lounge room, and when you're in a group of people who are with us at an event. So when you're with another 150 people and we're there, and like the energy that comes through and out of you is it's much more inspired, it's much more compassionate, it's much more it's activated. It's been activated differently. It's hardy, it's sovereign. So we've watched that energy. We've watched that come out of our audience and community the whole time we've done these live events. And it's come out of us as well, of course. So like the idea of magnifying that and magnifying that and magnifying that until we get to a stadium, the ultimate size of magnification, and do it all undetected, essentially, just
Yeah,
completely like
under the radar.
underground.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's Aussie, man. Like it's an Aussie event. Our elders will be there. It'll be
Mm.
our animals there. It'll be very grounded. Our hearty musicians from the times long ago.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to do at least 11 shows in Australia. So we're going to go to every state, I think.
Yeah.
We're going to Northern
Oh
Territory.
yeah.
Can't remember about that, but basically we'll be around. So if you can get to a show, come along because, like Kelly said, it's such a different experience being there live, but mainly around, you know, your tribe, right? People who you can have conversations with, uncensored conversations, and throw your theories out and all that kind of stuff. Be yourself. So keep your eyes, peeled. Our website links below, and we'll be announcing everything. We're going to get our shit together. So hopefully, so we'll be giving you like a couple of months at least, warning for each show.
I love it when we say we're going to get our shit together because, like, honestly, we both have full-time jobs. We've been trying to build this farm. We've been like taking care of so many variables. I mean, Campbell and I literally built a bathroom last week.
Yeah,
We
man.
literally built a toilet, put a septic in, and actually built a tiled shower. Well, like this sort of shit we're doing all the time. So we do all right. But yeah, I mean, it always really aligns with us if any of you out there want to help in any volunteer way. I mean, we
Yes.
just always, we've got some amazing, Edwina and Helen, call out to you, our champions who've just, and Helen, such a fucking champion. We love you. And,
Yes.
we hope that Helen will become the official manager of all of the stadium tour. But we would love anyone who wants to step forward to help support this very lofty and crazy idea. Same with helping us organize this tour next year. Anyone out there who wants to be more involved with us, that would be, we're always open to our community's help.
Yes.
Anyway, enough
And
of that
hang
because
on.
we've got
Talking about Helen, quickly, I
yes.
have to do something. I
What's
have
that?
to. She has an Etsy shop with all
Ah.
this really cool art. It's called In a
Look at
Nutshell.
that.
So if
So
you're into some really
excellent.
cool art and supporting people in the community, it's really cool stuff.
I love that.
Um,
Yay.
oh, it's all the same one. Um, then go and check it out. Like there's some really cool stuff. Always at the Bosnian Pyramid. It could be, what do you reckon? Bosnian Pyramid. Woohoo. Oh,
Yep. Helen
right.
came to us in at the Bosnian period. It was almost also there at our first live in Melbourne, the big event, and several other yep, she's a legend. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, hey, and I love this
Oh
section.
my
This is us
God.
showcasing
It's
casing
cheap
our
stuff as
community
well. Yeah.
artists.
You need to put your prices up,
Yep,
Helen. Holy dooly, man. That's a bargain. So I'll leave the link to
yep,
this down below, guys. As you can see, it's all her art that she's made herself and flowers, turtles, heaps of really cool stuff. So go and check it out. Support your
yep.
tribe. How do I
Cool.
stop sharing that
Yes, and
one?
if you're an artist out there, if you're an artist in our community, just send us a link.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
showcase. We
Yeah, if
love
you want a
that. We're
shout
about to
out,
bring the arts in big.
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, we want to support everyone in the community and because we appreciate the support we get so much. So yeah, man, send us an email that will be below in the description as well.
Okay, and I'm super excited. Over the next year, I am going to deliver some inspirational, fucking excellent teachings from my past masterhoodness on the topic of us getting our asses to this one moment in time together. Yep. All
Oh, there we
right.
go. I might have to add some Campbellosophy to that, balance it out a little bit.
Yep. Yep. Yes, of course, Cam, because otherwise we would only have half the audience.
Exactly right.
Mm.
Too lofty, man. I've got to.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Can you go too lofty?
We
That's the question. Who knows?
All right. So welcome to the next installment of our new theory and concept that we've just been playing with over the last couple of weeks. And just to summarize where I got to on the live the other night towards the end of the live, that is, not while I was wiggling around like a like a baby.
Mm.
I was starting to talk about what if the pyramids were actually built from the underground up and were actually built with the energetic of Vril energy. And Campbell and I were talking about the Vril still, with this concept of the Vril and the concept of this electric magnetic energy that is the Vril, from the underground. We were starting to talk about that and the polarity, which we'll get into more. And then Campbell said something extremely and utterly profound to me, which I cannot fucking believe. I still today, as I was looking at it more and more, I'm still profoundly shocked. I never connected this in my brain. So if I might be the slowest person in the entire community and everyone else is all going to go, oh my God, I can't believe Kelly hadn't thought about that. But I honestly have never thought about it this way. Campbell said to me, he said, and did you know that the Bible and ancient Egypt were basically the same time? As the Bible stories were being lived out, as Moses and Noah and the Old Testament and the New Testament were being lived out in its timeline, whatever that is, was exactly the same time that ancient Egypt was living it out, its various pharaohs and whatnot, God's timeline. And not only that, they basically sit in the same location and place.
Yeah, they're right next to each other, right? Yeah, for sure.
That, Campbell, I mean, come on. Like, for all the slow pokes out there, let me just tell you what blew my mind. In all of my looking at the Bible and fucking ancient Egypt, not once did I put them together. At school, if we think about it, like, you don't get a lesson on ancient Egypt and then you get a separate lesson on the Bible, and they never get bridged together. Ever does any teacher ever say to you, these two things were happening at the very same time? Never.
No,
And yet, the story of fucking Moses.
Moses.
Tell us, Campbell.
Mosley, yeah. So, well, the lost tribes of Israel, I guess they went into Egypt and lived there, and then their population started getting too big. So one of the pharaohs enslaved all the Israelites, and then they had this thing where they were going to kill the firstborn male of each family. So Moses' mum put him in a basket, floated him down the river, and he was found by a princess, taken into the royal home and raised in the royal house, basically, and rose to, I think it was viceroy, which is literally the person below the pharaoh. And then, yeah, he had a bit of he realized he was an Israelite and then wanted to free his people. Let my people go, that one. And took off through the desert stole the ark as well, which is another one, right? Stole the ark and then took it off, parted the Red Sea, and wandered the desert for 40 years until they found the homeland.
All right. Well, like, get fucked. So I think the reason that I've never really thought about it in this way, even though I've watched so much stuff, and I knew conceptually that Moses was picked up by a pharaoh in Egypt. Like, they were like some of those pictures I remember from when I was growing up at Sunday school, looking at cartoons of it. But I'd not, and not in this time in my life. And I think maybe now it's so poignant because we've been bashing the Bible up and Christianity recently and really going hardcore looking at that. We've now just introduced the concept of ancient Egypt being full of wormholes or stargates, and the
Yes.
cone-headed pharaohs came in as these parasitic beings with a parasite already in them, aka Stargate, and that it all began sort of in ancient Egypt, and it's filtered down now into what we have today, a complete parasitic
Yeah.
pyramid, literal pyramid structure Um,
Yeah,
and it's just like,
it's
so
crazy. I've got a couple of quotes actually that most of these came in on the lives and things from other people, but Isaiah 41:14, do not be afraid, you worm Jacob. He's calling him a worm, right? Little Israel,
yeah,
do not fear, for I myself will help you, declared the Lord.
you
Yeah.
worm,
You
Jacob.
worm.
Ah, it's fucking hilarious.
And they will go out and look on the dead bodies of those who rebelled against me. The worms that eat them will not die. The fire that burns them will not be quenched, and they will be loathsome to all mankind. So, like the worms that eat them will not die. That's I
Wow.
don't know, right? What are we looking at here? This is Mark 9:46, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. Like there's all these weird references to worms, right? Like it. Now, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you of the gospel I preached to you, which you received, on which you have taken your stand. By gospel you are saved. If you hold firmly to the word I preached to you, otherwise you believed in vain. For what I received, I passed on to you as first importance that Christ died for our sins according to scriptures. So this isn't a very good one. That he was
No,
buried and that he was raised on the third
nothing
day.
in that one.
That must be the wrong one. So there you go. But yeah, worms. There's another one. It was something like the worm carries over. Um, hang on, I've got one more here. Oh, there was a few other things. I mean, did we talk about the
Oh, no,
tequila
fucking
worms
hell.
and whiskey worms?
Yeah, the worms in alcohol. I know.
However, this kind does not go. Yeah, yeah. So this one's about fasting. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting.
This kind.
What's he talking about? The Pharisees. Oh, so this is in Egypt. The Pharisees and Sadducees seek a sign. Now, when his gosh, I think I went to the wrong place. Did I? Matthew 16. Then the Pharisees and the Sadducees came, and testing him, he asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered to them, when it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning it will be foul weather, for the sky is red and threatening. Red sky, interesting. Okay, I have not read this before. Um,
Yeah, well, I mean,
anyway,
this.
the worm.
So basically, okay, so the Bible itself is making a case
Oh.
for a parasitic invasion. And yet we are making a case that the Bible is part of that parasitic invasion.
Mm.
Well, that religious worship is part of that parasitic invasion. That mind control programming that we are putting down to parasitic invasion that started in ancient Egypt. Could have had something to do with the fall of Atlantis, not sure. And also, I mean, Stargate and a million movies, or as you know, we went through this last week,
Mm.
grossness.
Like the world, right?
Yep,
Like all these worms that are inside. You can see the eyes, like
yep,
glowing eyes, because they're controlled by a parasite worm. Oh, there's not many. There's one there. That's
yep.
a Goa'uld, which is basically the gods. So there you go. I'll stop sharing now.
No, I mean, man, I tell you what, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So then to bring that all together. So now we've got a Bible, the most read book in the whole world, um, sitting absolutely in a straight line, which should look perfectly like this, Campbell, in a straight line
Yeah.
together. And it's all immersed in parasites. It's all immersed in the Bible is full of parasites. People in the Bible are full of parasites. Jesus spent all his time pulling out the parasites, literally pulling out the worms, pulling out the fucking whatever parasites.
Goa'uld. Yeah.
Yes. We've got pharaohs with their alien heads and their gigantic parasitic bodies. We've got this like introduction. In fact, was it which of the Egyptian pharaohs brought in the monolithic religion? Basically one god religion. Which
Akhenaten.
yeah, now Akhenaten was interesting because he looked really alien. He was the one of all of them that was all like gungly and weird, his weird belly and long and he literally looked like
E.T.
the next, yeah, he was like ET, the next level of parasite alien, the next level, like, and he changed it to this sense of there being one God,
Yeah.
and and the Father, one God, the Father.
Yeah. It went from, many gods to the one God. And then when after his rule, they changed it back again, didn't they? But well, this is the story we get. But like Coptic Christians, like the Coptic Christian faith comes directly from Egypt, and there's even a language, Coptic, and there's all these churches out in the desert and like these really old Coptic monasteries and churches and stuff. And I think the closest that is like the Orthodox Church from like Russia. But there's a definite link to Christianity, which it's like you said before, they kind of hint to it, like it's kind of in the Bible, but they never make the connection for you. They never kind of say, yeah, man, Christians are in ancient
Yeah,
Egypt, and that's where we
there was
came
no
from. And
pyramid. Okay, so all right, so that's true, Campbell. They don't
and
make that connection in the Bible.
no, they just kind of have a story and they move off. And I mean, this is the whole thing with the Old Testament and the New Testament. They're well, we don't even know when either of them were written, really. But the story is thousands of years apart, and they're just different stories. But yeah, definitely the Bible, apart from Genesis, like after the flood, starts in Egypt. Like,
Yeah, it still blows my mind. I
mm,
still blows my mind. Okay, so it starts in Egypt. Now, would you then say, because my everyone's other question about Egypt is what the fuck happened to it? Like it was something like they're ruling the world, pharaohs, aliens, parasites, everything's all around Egypt. God, Christians, every religion starting to form around Egypt. Like, and what happened to it? Where did it go? What did it literally collapse during the flood or Noah's flood? Because that'd be the same flood. And is ancient Egypt the Old Testament? And is like the annihilation of ancient Egypt and suddenly it disappears out of consciousness. We move on to fucking well, where would you say predominantly is the New Testament placed?
well, the New
What
Testament's
location would you
the
say?
Middle East is what they tell us, right? Um,
Yeah. So
and so it's kind of weird, right? Because Genesis, again, we're told that it was Middle East, right? The Tigris and Euphrates River. And then a lot of people connect that to the Sumerians. But after Genesis, yeah, then it's suddenly in Egypt, and then it switches back for the New Testament. So it's interesting, I mean, there's a big Sumerian link as well, but definitely like after the flood, after Noah's flood, which again they say he landed on Mount Ararat, which is in the Middle East, but then suddenly it all really begins in Egypt. So it
so
was
all
Egypt
right.
there, and they just ignored it in the Bible, other in the the Genesis and that, like, because they had to, right? Because that was a creation, so there couldn't be any other place. Is Egypt the land of Nod?
Well, Campbell, so let's now flip that concept. So Egypt may not be Cairo. Egypt
Wow,
may not. So like
what
because when
is
I
it? Yes, yes,
yeah, so I mean, there is so much content online, and I'll show you some clips about Egypt being America.
yeah.
So that would then change also the entire like process around how we're thinking about what is Egypt. And then I'm going
Mm.
to bring in the link to the Vril civilization that was like said to look like ancient Egypt. So we seem to have like two so we either have two cultures or two timelines because it appears we have ancient Egypt architecture that is all around the world. Like the pyramids and the column, that sort of stylistic ancient, the hieroglyphics, the obelisks, all that sort of is ancient. At the same time, we have this other culture, Tartaria, all around the world, and you can
Mm.
see them, the same buildings in all different cultures and nations. So we've
Yeah,
got
yeah. I mean, it's a good point because I mean, obviously the Egyptian stuff is a lot bigger, but they tell us that all these obelisks and that they were all taken from Egypt, don't they? Like they were
oh
relics
yeah.
that were shipped all
Mm.
around the world. I mean, that in itself is curious. Why would they be doing that in Christian countries and things like this?
Yep.
Um,
And
yeah.
there's the pyramids everywhere all around the world.
and there's also you see sphinxes, man, like
Yes, sphinxes,
everywhere.
fucking sphinxes. I
They were
agree.
all
Yes.
through like
Yes.
Venice, and we were
Yep.
seeing them in the Balkans, weren't we? That like everywhere.
Yep. And also this worship of animal-headed gods was also a part of that. You don't see the animal-headed gods in
I
the
mean,
Tartarian architecture, do you?
no, no, no. I mean,
You
sometimes we
see them in the
see,
maps.
yeah, sometimes you see the like the what are they called? The oh my gosh, brain fart. The creepy faces, gargoyles and things like that. But a lot of them
Yep.
look like they've been added
Yep.
later, like refaced. But yeah, I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten. So you talk.
All right, yeah.
Remember.
So I've got heaps to say. So, so,
I'll think.
so the Tartarian culture was either existing at the same timeline, or it was the reset before. So we had Tartaria, potentially the thousand millennial reign of Christ. If you want to look from biblical, potentially it's already happened from a biblical sense.
Yeah.
Christ isn't coming; he's already been. That could have been the Tartarian culture up alongside the event that happened, that occurred, and then the parasitic takeover we introduced to ancient Egypt. So Tartaria, and you kind of see put Atlantis somewhere in the middle of there. I don't know. Atlantis sort of blends between Tartaria and Egypt. How it's been
It's
depicted in imagery, maybe, but we don't know that for sure, right?
yeah, well, yeah, it's all we see is depictions, and they're always
Yeah,
like Greece or Egyptian
yeah,
kind of
it
things.
is.
But
Would you put it in Atlantis, or would you put it in Tartaria or Egyptian energetically? Where would you put it intuitively?
I mean, I'd probably put it more Egyptian. That's probably just, from the information I've got over it. I mean, obviously they always try and teach us that Atlantis is way, way, way older than, Egypt and Tartaria and that. But, just in the story, it sank and some people got away, and then you suddenly have this high-tech civilization, Egypt, right? So it could definitely have been built or reclaimed from the Atlanteans after
Yeah,
Atlantis,
yeah,
because
that's what I'm thinking.
that would be the same flood, probably, right?
Yeah,
As the biblical flood.
yeah.
Mm.
That's right. So I'm thinking Egypt emerged from the remains of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm thinking it's a separate cultural experience to the Tartarian
Mm.
experience.
Yeah, and
They
we have
feel
this
different.
thing. Yeah, well, there's this whole thing of Atlantis where they try and put out that it was this amazing, wonderful, heavenly kind of place.
That's right.
But when you sort of dig a bit deeper, you
Yeah.
find out that the Atlanteans went crazy with technology and basically blew up their own civilization, right?
Yes, very much like Silicon Valley today. In fact, it is rumored that the ancestors from Atlantis have reincarnated into the Silicon Valley energetic, the AI creators,
We're going to
the
try and do it
tech
all
people.
again. Slow learners, man.
So I mean it's interesting, isn't it? Therefore, like whereas the so with the Tartarian culture, we can sort of lean towards, with the evidence that we have, that they were much more attuned to organic kind of chi energy, like that, like they utilized bells as frequency objects.
Yeah.
Bells were important, whereas when the reset happened, all the bells were deliberately destroyed by the parasitic culture we're in today, which seems to be linked to the pyramid, to the ancient Egyptian culture today.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, this parasite could have gone through Atlantis, right? That's where it could have, if they had all this high level tech, but they were corrupted
Oh
mentally.
my
So they
God,
were
of
just doing,
course.
yeah. So if they were corrupted mentally, it's like we get today, right? All these people who will sell their soul for
Yeah.
material goods. So were they
Mm.
somehow infected? And is that how it got brought through
Okay,
to
okay, yeah.
Egypt, right?
So
Um,
maybe the parasite, in order to like merge into any sort of realm, it has to have a technology. Maybe the parasite it's not organic. Maybe it requires some level of advanced technology in order to infiltrate and take over.
wow,
You know,
jeez. I mean, what do they do? What's
mm,
Elon Musk doing at the moment, right?
yeah, yep,
He's putting
yep.
brain implants. What, imagine that like 100, 200 years in the future. Could it be? Could they have morphed it into like a little worm thing you just put in your ear, right? Like in the Hitchhiker's
Absolutely.
Guide,
Yeah.
and it goes rogue and turns people crazy, and they end up blowing up their civilization. Just a thought, right?
I mean, it makes sense to me. Like I've always thought of the Kabbalah as it's like a physics handbook. It's like it
Hmm.
teaches you how to build. I think CERN came from instructions
Yeah,
found in the
that's what I
Kabbalah.
heard. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like I mean it literally it's like they give you the sort of the information to
Hmm.
if the text's not there, they'll give it enough to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they probably do that by going back into the past even, like
Maybe even in the Vedas, there's a
yeah.
what is it, the Vimanika Shastra, and it tells you how to build a Vimana, right? Like a flying
Yeah.
ship.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's so
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where does all this information come from, and was it just passed over? I mean, all these maps as well that we get, right, that are so weird and so
Oh,
changey. Like I don't, and the big thing is obviously the tropics are wrong. Like they're from like an age ago, like thousands of years ago. Like are
mm,
they? I often think are they just copies of the Atlantean maps? Is that why they don't make sense? Of a previous civilization map.
yep. That would
And
make sense.
the other point is that there's a lot of talk of genetic engineering in all the Sumerian, Christian, even with the fallen angels and Egyptian. There's all this talk that talks about corrupting the body, and which is sin, by the way.
Mm.
Is that why we end up with dog-headed people, right? And things like griffins. Are they, just genetically modified animals?
Well,
We
why
see them
not?
everywhere, right? The
Yeah. I mean, I think that.
chimeras.
I
Yeah.
think that. I think that.
Which again could be another rollover from Atlantis, right? If they were going crazy, because that's kind of the story, isn't it? They were going crazy with technology, and then they started like genetically altering all this stuff, which,
Yep.
which is very, kind of similar to the Sodom and Gomorrah story, isn't it? Like, they were corrupting the flesh, and so they got wiped out.
And Bill Gates. So, like, we were having a funny conversation the other day. Like, we could literally have this conversation about ancient Egypt parasites and put it up alongside an actual news broadcast from today
Yes.
about whatever's going on in the world. And then we'd be literally saying the same fucking thing, you
Mm,
know? But yeah, all right. So
so,
potentially these parasites need to create the technology because their true nature is AI. It's a form of artificial intelligence.
mm,
And that they will always push a culture to this level of sophistication with tech to the detriment of all other things, by the way, all other things to the
mm,
detriment of.
yeah.
And then they then
Parasites.
they basically can morph with the robotic form, the AI form, whether it be the
Yeah.
computer that controls the world or a literal physical forms that look like humans, and then they're in, and you don't
Yeah.
even know the difference between a human and an AI.
I mean, go and check out some of the robots that they're building at the moment, right? And of course, we've got CERN and those
Mm.
computers, the quantum computers, where that guy said he was contacting gods from another realm or something. Like, yeah, are they intelligent enough, but they need a body to inhabit, which is the same story again, right? As the fallen angels, the devils, the demons, they want to inhabit a body, right? So is that what all this robot stuff is that's going on at the moment?
Maybe parasites, like the inner the conception of parasites, like the worms and the parasites. Maybe that was the genetic modification of. Maybe that was all genetically modified. Parasites aren't natural, potentially to us to life forms in the organic world. Parasites seem to not be like they don't seem to be in any they're not giving anything. There's no life-giving purpose to them. They're not providing life in any capacity, right? They're just like sucking the life out of other living
This
creatures.
is the
It
world's
seems to
first
be.
Oh,
realistic female robot
sorry, I'm
assistant.
trying
I'm
to.
the first personal
Ah,
assistant.
sorry, that
How
was
do
me.
you
It's all
deal with
right.
regret? I mean, individual
Sorry.
choice.
Are you there?
Yeah. I'm just thinking this through.
I'm just trying to get some videos up. I just got to turn the volume
This is the
down.
world's first realistic
Of
female robot assistant.
oh,
I'm the
what?
first personal assistant built by Cyber.
Oh gosh, now I have to do editing. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So if they came on in with AI, then it would make sense that ancient Egypt and Atlantis were impacted by them. It could also be possible that Noah's flood was not, and primarily was not an act of God or the creator, but was an act of a weapon that was used, or a piece of technology that actually pierced the stratosphere or pierced the earth and up came the waters. That it literally was an act of warfare.
This is a robot, by the way, on the
Oh,
screen at
yeah.
the moment.
Yep.
So that, like, is this what this is all about? Like, literally to build them a body, right, to live in.
Yep.
And it's going. If you look at it, it's just going crazy that they've already built some that like for to be maids or cleaners or whatever, like house help with this. Like, look at that.
Yep.
So
And the
imagine where this
skin,
is going to be in like 10 years.
yeah. The skin will be, you only be able to tell that the skin's different. You won't be able to tell. You'll be out of sex with them. You won't even know. Like it'll all be built completely like, and how weird is it? Like, how weird is it? This cannot have come from humans because it's too fucking weird. Why would you, as a civilization, put all this energy and time and focus into creating your replacement? Like,
Hmm.
why would you do that? Imagine like coming across a civilization of dogs
Finally,
and
nothing spectacular here.
all they're obsessed with was replacing themselves with robotic dogs. Like it is so bizarre to the point where you want to marry them and love them and fuck them and have them. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so not a natural human thing to think to do.
Yeah, totally, man. It's just like you said, it's replacing ourselves. And
Yep.
like, why are they suddenly all humanoid? Because like we've had robots for a long time, but they've been like basically machines, right? There's robots all throughout car manufacturers and stuff,
Yeah.
and they have one job. They just do
Mm-hmm.
this thing all day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they work really well. So why
Yep.
the whole human
Yep.
form? It doesn't really help
No.
anything, right? Like a robots are just built to do a certain job.
Yep.
That's but they're building them like humans, so they're doing all these things that they don't need to do.
That's
But
right.
they can do them. So that kind of technology definitely could replace us,
Well,
right?
and who would be thinking to do
Who would,
that?
who would
It's
be
not humans.
not humans, man? It's not a human intelligence. It's a
All right.
parasitic thing who wants to take over its host.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
you can't do that sort of work without the financial support and the support of the pyramid. Like
Oh,
that
for
sort of
sure.
work is being so focused on and so supported in every way because they want it.
Mm,
They want human, artificial intelligent, indistinguishable from the population in every way. And they
mm.
want it for a reason.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if we were to take robots for what they are, you would think robots exist as a self-sustaining unit over there. It cannot interfere with my mind or my thoughts or anything else. It's robotic. It's like a machine. But
Mm.
that's not what's going
To
on.
help us. Yeah, that's not
Yep.
what's going on.
They are wiring and firing with every single thought we've ever had, with all of every single imprint we've ever put into this realm. Like our electronic fingertips, our energetic field is morphed into their biology.
Mm.
Like they're a reader of us, right? They read
Facebook,
us.
right? Mm.
Facebook, all social media, all technology, all
All
into
that.
everything we do now, every single thing, every photo, everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's all
man,
it's yeah, it's a crazy time, right? But I mean, even this is sort of what they've been teaching us over the last 100 years, with evolution and space and all this is the end result of that is there's no God, right? There was no creation. And so that puts people in the mindset where they're like, oh, well, we weren't created. Maybe we can be the creators, right? Like if everyone believed in a creator, like if people building this kind of stuff do not believe, you would think, in a creator of the universe, because then they would be mimicking the creation, don't you think?
yeah, I mean,
It's all a bit weird. Like building your own things to make your life better is different, but because that's what it is. It's trying to mimic the
yeah,
creation, trying
that's
to
right.
make
I
it as
get what you're
lifelike
saying.
as
Like,
possible.
what's the point?
Yeah, yeah,
What
like
would be the point? It's already been created.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's already been created by all we're doing is make an inferior copy, right? That's
Unless they
what we
need it.
do, unless they
Unless
need
it's,
it, unless there's another agenda.
yeah,
Space, look how much
exactly.
money goes into space. CERN, look
Yeah.
how much, but I mean, just imagine how much money's gone into robotics in the last 5 years, like after what we've just seen. Like that would cost so much money for all that research and stuff. And they just, they're hammering ahead with that, right? And yet,
yeah.
People are going homeless and can't feed their families. And so this agenda is not to help us. Clearly, it's not for us.
No.
It's,
And like a lot of these parasitic concepts that we've got, like I think one of the latest, like, weirdest things that happened to humans health-wise before the Rona was the Morgellons disease, which was all those like artificial
fibers,
like fibers that were growing out of people's bodies, and they were finding them in like all the fast food chains, and this is like 10 years ago I saw Morgellons disease. So parasites, we've looked at them from an organic level of like them being worms and things carried in living animals, and but maybe they never were organic, and maybe they've always had that fibrous thing in them.
They've been run by like black goo, like self-assembling nanoparticles, and they just grew a bit too far for the body, and the system are like, oh my gosh, quick, invent a disease, say they're human.
So the element of truth in the Bible would be that there was, if we look at the elements being true, is that there were potentially organic humans that worked out that this was occurring, and Jesus Christ Superstar, whoever the real version of that story was, rose just as like basically a doctor who was like able to remove these entities from humans. I mean, who knows? You can really see how like all of this really verges between Star Wars like and Dune and all this sort of fantasy realm that we have. Is so
look at Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? In Star Wars. He's just an older version of Jesus, right? He's got the same clothes and everything.
Yep. I want to show some of these clips before we move.
That he could have just been going around healing people of either organic or inorganic parasites, and that's the casting out of demons, and that could be the whole point of all these religious books. That's the enemy. We've identified it. That's the enemy. But of course, the enemy came up. We could be in the little season of Satan, and he's just flipped everything over, right? And he's trying to take control. I mean, how would the demons raise an army against God, which is what's supposed to happen, right? In the Bible, for the last battle, like the devil's supposed to raise an army. Yeah. If he's got no bodies, like no body to help him.
Yeah, literally
robots, right?
Yeah, and like there's some connection with, is it the name itself, Egypt, meaning the land of the dead? Like there's like the land of the dead is, and I've got it here somewhere, we'll have a look, but that's another thing. Let's look at that, the land of the dead, and how parasites, they reanimate the dead.
The zombie apocalypse.
Yes, and how the Christians don't believe in incarnation. That's interesting. And the resurrection and all this connection to the land of the dead and Egypt. Now let's just take Egypt out of Egypt and put it into America. And let's just see if America and Egypt and religion and our state of parasitic reality has a connection. I really like this chick.
All right.
Call out to her. I don't know who she is.
Oh,
no volume. Hang on.
Doesn't say it. Butter something.
Okay.
At T.
Oh, it does say something down there. I'll read it in a minute. Okay, let's go.
Rather peculiar that the USA claims to be a Christian nation but has the Egyptian pyramid on its American dollar. I don't find it strange that the pyramid is detached from its tippy top, which is also called the apex, and replaced by what looks to be a third eye. It's not strange to me because it's my theory that America is ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt is the land of the dead. The land of the dead is often referred to as the land of reincarnated souls.
There you go.
For those who don't know, Anubis is the ancient Egyptian god often depicted as a dog who is the protector of the dead. Isn't it funny that God is just dog spelled backwards? Or that teachings about God are called church dogma? Anyways, the God of the Bible comes from the Roman pantheon, which comes from the Greek pantheon, which which comes from the Egyptian pantheon, which comes from the Sumerian pantheon, which is the Anunnaki gods, who are the fallen angels, otherwise called aliens. See, the God of the Bible is not the God. He's a God, but a much lesser God. His name is Vril. It should also be noted that we get the title God from the name Vril. But anyways, 1 Enoch 69:6 reads like this. And the third was named Vril. He it is who showed the children of men all of the blows of death, and he led astray Eve, and showed the weapons of death to the sons of men, the shield and the coat of mail, and the sword for battle, and all the weapons of death to the children of men. Totally random and probably not unrelated, a third of angels come down with Satan. Vril is referred to as the third. But anyways, I also want to point out that this chapter and verse is marked by 666, which is not obvious to the naked eye that hasn't studied gematria and numerology. But 69 is actually just 23. 23 symbolically is representative as 2 over 3, or 2 divided by 3, which is 0.666. So the chapter is 666 and the verse is number 6. From the verse, we learn 3 specific things. First is that Vril is a fallen angel. Second is that he is the fallen angel that specifically showed humans how to kill and how to make weapons. And third, and finally being the most important, he is the fallen angel that deceived Eve. But if he deceived Eve, who created Eve? Genesis 1:26, the God of the Bible says, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness." We've already covered that the God of the Bible is Vril. But who is us? In the English translation of the Bible, you have no idea, and of course they want it that way. But in the Hebrew translation, we learn that us is Elohim. El is God singular, but Elohim is God plural, or gods. Putting all of that together then, a lesser god by the name of Vril, from which we get the title God, is one of the fallen angels who created some type of something in their image and likeness, who also later deceives Eve and the whole of mankind. Wait, so you're telling me that the good guys are the bad guys? And that the bad guys are the good guys? Isn't it rather peculiar that the USA claims...
It's in right. So
like that last bit, like, let's make man in our image, robots.
Yeah, exactly. That is so robotic. So this was just I've just got a few Egyptian American. This is just
you've got your you've got your ad up for it.
I know, bunk bed. That's the move. All right, let's try this one. This is just random.
In the dark. Oh, wow.
The lights, it's showing, and most of them is completely changed without lights. For example, this is the Egyptian calendar, right? Mm-hmm. I will turn off already. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my God.
Okay, it will be the cat. Her name is a goddess Bastet, symbol of happiness in ancient time.
No.
Wow. Sorry, we have also here the tree of life. It's the medium size. It will be changed completely, huh?
So I don't.
Yeah.
It will be the key of life.
Now, I don't have any context to that video. That could have just been modern art impressions. I don't know. So I just thought it was interesting. It just came up on my chat.
Yeah.
Just to show, like, because then I was like, okay, that's interesting, because what happens if you know, if they all did that because of the real energy. So, but like one more clip on America. One more clip on America.
You gotta get rid of the bunk bed.
Man, that's just life, isn't it, at the moment?
It is.
My life. All right.
For beautiful Kentucky, home of several lost ancient Indian villages and many other generally just awesome things. Let's take a look. So here you'll see the ruins of Karnak in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. That's right, ancient Egypt. And here you'll see the Egyptian temple, Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, ancient Egypt again. And more pictures of the ruins of Karnak there in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. They had enough loonies in 1800 to build an asylum for them like this here above. But considering we have no mental health facilities anymore, I'm glad we nipped that in the bud. And here we're told about the King Mounds, burial mounds in Wycliffe, Kentucky of several mummies. What kind of mummies, you ask? Mummies found just like those in Egypt. But here in Kentucky, well, look at that. Amazing. Now here's one of my favorite, most common ones. The old door into the cave. Check it out. Wooden door into the cave. Another great one, the ticket office in the cave. Right here's the ticket office, just in this cave. And lastly, random doorway in the middle of a parking lot into the underworld. Check it out, right here. And here you'll see what we call in Kentucky, or at least I do, the swivel bridge. Check it out. Bet you don't have one of these swivel bridges. And here's a good one. Union Church from 1853, but if you'll notice the electric wires, the old no wiring magic
So
trick.
they look very
And then here's the
Egyptian, those
current one
buildings
with our
the
modern
columns.
high-tech technology of electric wires. Now here's a good one. Beautiful High Bridge, Kentucky, over in the Harrodsburg area. Beautiful High Bridge makes for a beautiful high dam, right over in the same area. Quite a bit of water being held back. And now for the we could probably do this, but I don't think we did segment. We have the Boone Tunnel. Boone Tunnel right on the edge of Fayette County and Jessamine County. And here it is today, no longer being used, but none less impressive. And here you'll see the Fayette County Post Office. This is what they want you to believe they built as a post office. Okay, we'll take your word for it. And these used to be on every corner. It's sad, but Chin's Cave House. Chin's Cave House. Check it out. One of the last remaining. And I checked Google Earth to see if I could go today. Unfortunately, it's out of business. No longer serving customers. Bummer. And lastly, we'll take a look from God's country, Madison County, Kentucky, looking over the ravine there at these mounds looking like pyramids. Kentucky and ancient America aren't what you thought they were.
I mean,
Yeah.
all right. So he's interesting. Like he blends the Tartarian and the
Tartara,
Egyptian
yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let
I
me
mean,
stop
definitely,
share.
I don't know if I've seen any domes in ancient Egypt, but definitely the columns and the like the porticos, like the triangle shaped portico things they have. Yeah, it is. And it's interesting that they're the buildings that are taken up by the money
Masonics.
controllers, right? And the Masons,
Yes.
the government and the Masons have all those buildings.
Yeah, anything that has those columns, like the Pantheon, definitely they're the Masonic lodges here in Australia, always.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have the Tartarian post office on the other side of the street, you know, like they do come together in a timeline.
Yeah.
All right, so
And
I want to
so,
flip something.
So just in the US, towns and cities, Memphis, Tennessee, obviously Memphis, Egypt, and Tennessee, I've heard like the Essie, very, similar to Essenes. And I've heard people link it as well to ISIS. Like, does Memphis mean the Essenes or the ISIS? Who knows? But they've also got a Cairo, right? I think several, like Cairos, Thebes, Alexandrias, and most of them are on or around the Mississippi River, which a lot of people are saying is that the original Nile. Is that?
Yeah.
Have they done another switcheroo, which they do all the time? We know they do it with populations. I think any city you look into in the world, if you Google it, there'll be a same named city in another country somewhere. It's like there's a Melbourne in Florida, there's a Perth in Scotland. It's crazy.
Yep. Oh, you just jumped.
Oh, did I? What did I do?
That was weird. You look like you got bitten by a snake then. Anyway, so all right. So okay. How about this concept of Vril energy? So another place disappeared, and this is where it all kind of triggered this whole thing off. Was that I read this? I told you guys last week this article about this book that came out in the 1800s anonymously, and then it got authored eventually with a name, but originally anonymously, and it was all about the Vril society, the civilization that lived underground, under the earth, and it's completely advanced and reliant on this real electromagnetic power source that could do great healing or great destruction, either depending on the skill of the holder of it. So it's interesting to think, when we look at the, say, Tartarian realm, and our conversation about negative and positive charge, and how with this shift we're going to flip. So when I see it, I see our realm, our flat realm, and I see the toroidal shape going through the North Pole, right?
Yeah.
And I see it going in a direction. So when I've talked about a swift from negative charge to positive charge, from a negative charge realm to a positive charge realm, it's the energy here that reverses, which is what I would say is a pole shift. And you see it differently, though.
Well, no, I do see it that way as well, but I also look at the sine wave.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is you find everywhere, which is the up-down wave. So we have like a low and then a high and then a low. But I mean, the thing is with a sine wave is if you get it, like a sine wave is linear.
Mm,
If you get it and connect the two ends in a circle, you start to get that
mm.
toroidal kind of
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. So if we look at like this, so we have a negatively charged energy source, which in our culture today has been referred to as Vril energy. We have linked it through the truth community with the black goo, with the celebrities and the black eye club, and this parasitic energy that comes in through the eye or the ear or up the nose. We've linked it to the horrors of the takeovers. We've linked it to that reptilian energetic, the satanic energetic, the blood hungry energetic, the whole like devouring human blood concept. And then like the priests as you go up, the politicians, and they've always got this sort of like second personality, and you see it all in the news readers and the celebrities that they funk out, and this like reptilian eyes appear, and their tongues kind of stick out, and they fuzz out, and it's like this competing life force in them. To my mind, and I think you agree, is I've always referred to that as the black goo, the real energy, sort of the same thing. Would you say the same?
Yeah. I mean, I think, especially in the last couple of years, we've done some shows on it, right? That the whole electronic grid
Yeah.
is the false grid, right? The electronic, right? Like there's
Mhm.
all these L's, the ones who got the power and all this kind of stuff. So
That's right.
yeah,
And the closed grid.
yeah, and then the closed circuit, which isn't, the macro grid, which is the nature sort of natural grid, with all the stars and all that kind of stuff on it. So yeah, I think I think that the black goo, the self-assembling nanoparticles, and the parasites are all the same thing, which is, why I mentioned before, like, is that what happened in Atlantis? Were they?
Yeah.
Is this an evolvement of Elon Musk's brain chip that they
Yeah.
eventually evolve into basically AI, little worms that they're putting into people that then become conscious, and then it's started to try to take over, right? Which is the same story as AI taking over and the
Yeah.
Terminator and all this kind of stuff, right? It's just from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And the jinn, that's all traveling
Genie,
on that same closed grid, the ghost in the machine, if you
the
like, the
genie in the
ghost in the
bottle,
machine, the genie in the bottle,
and
the
the
ghost in the
genie is the
machine. That's
gin,
right.
and we are the bottle, right?
And and like when you talk about the online world, you get bugs and you get
Bugs.
wormholes, and you
Yeah.
get these like,
They
that's
bugged me. They were listening to
that's right.
everything. They bugged me.
That's right, that's right. And so like when I think of space, what I literally think about is internet. When I think of space, I think of the internet. They to me are the same thing. Space,
Interesting.
in what space is what is in and behind this online thing that's in front of us.
Yeah.
That's artificial space. That is the only place there's space.
Yeah. It's a good point, right? It's this big thing that seems to be there, but doesn't really exist, and you can't go there.
No,
But
it's virtual,
it's a good
AI,
point. Yeah.
electromagnetic space, full
Mm.
of wormholes and
Yeah.
bugs and viruses.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and viruses were introduced, like, God, back in the, when computers were literally just
Yeah.
getting evolved, suddenly viruses were in them.
And yeah, exactly. And servitude, because it makes the user addicted. It makes the user give up all its natural gifts. It makes the user addictive. Like where AI is going now, like today or yesterday, I worked out and told Campbell that if you're on ChatGPT and you give it a command to make an image, you'll shoot out an image. I didn't know that.
No.
Like, and so I'm just like, oh my God, man. Like, who's going to be motivated to ever need to learn to use Photoshop, or ever need to like pick up a paintbrush or actually like create an image from their imagination ever again? Like, you can literally, this AI will like replace your imagination in 1 second.
That's what it's trying to do, for sure.
That is sucking. That is the dark crystal right there. That's the energy from the gelflings being drained out of them. That's the human energy being drained, right? Which has to come at the, okay. So, all right. So, and we call it loosh, right? The loosh is it's the verb. It's the draining of the natural chi energy, the natural life-giving soul energy, the imagination, the intuition, all that stuff. So if we look at it from this concept, that in a negatively charged realm, Vril energy, black goo energy would be flipped as we flip into a positively charged realm into the word ether. So real energy, black goo energy, is the same energy that is the ether that gave free power and healing resonance to the realm.
Yeah.
The energy source flipped as well. And as that book talked about, it can be incredibly healing or incredibly destructive, depending on who's welding and what intentions behind it. So when we're in a negatively charged realm, that same life-giving energy becomes the most destructive, enslaving energy. And I think, Campbell, that's going to be, when we've talked before about the shift to the positive charge realm, how it's going to impact people and how, you know, service to self, it's going to like start losing their power, and service to others is going to start, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's the flip over of the energy source.
It is, yeah. It's like with the Taurus, you know, like the energy can move from the center outwards or from the outwards inwards. And I think the negative would be when it's moving from the outside inwards, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
it flips and it goes from the inside out. So we
Yes.
then become the creators again. We are the ones who are influencing the world that we inhabit rather than
That's right.
us. Yeah.
And they don't have any control. There's no power in that for them because
No.
they're not being fed anymore.
Unempowered, man.
Yes, so that's interesting to me. I find that an interesting concept. I haven't read anything about that. I think it makes total sense. So when people talk about the plasma apocalypse, potentially that is the event that occurs that is the physical manifestation of the shift.
Yeah.
You know, that's like it's quite strong, like
Yeah. Well, you can imagine something spinning one
circuit
way and then
shift.
having to stop and go the other way. It's
Yes.
going to lose a lot of radiant energy. Yeah.
Yes. So whenever I listen to people who are channeling for the love energy, you know, so often they will say things like, you know, you won't know yourself, but you'll know who you are. You won't know your personality anymore and all your traumas and tribulations, but you will know who you are. You will know why you're here. You will be activated into the, you know, your highest version of reality in yourself. And that would be a literal shift of energy of the circuitry running through us.
Yeah,
You know,
the
so
realization that we actually do create everything. Because once you understand that, you prove it, then you're not going to spend time on poor little me and worrying about your past, because it will probably come up quicker too, right? Like as a manifestation. But yeah, once
yeah.
people realize that it's we are the power and we can change it, then exactly, you'll still know who you are, but everything about you you'll see it'll all be different, right? Because you are
Yep.
suddenly the source, the PowerPoint.
So, I mean, like it makes sense that if the Earth's grid reverses, then ours it will also reverse. Our personal internal one will reverse.
Yeah.
So right now, it's
Yeah.
even if you are a completely masterful human being and like Campbell carry very little soul memories of trauma, and you know, it's very laid back and cash, you know, like even if you've got that disposition, you can't help but be trying to create outwards. You are trying to, you know, like you can't help it. Like your energy, our energy is to like replicate and mimic and copy. And we're reaching for that all over this earth now. People are just reaching for the next trend, the next style, the next thing, the next social platform, the next app, the next best video, the next like, the next, we're in that tortoise field. You know, it's indicative of the whole earth right now. So when that starts to reverse on this earth, and probably in us first, you know, as the way seers, we will start to feel very fucking weird. Like all the weirdness that's going on for us all individually now, whatever's happening in everyone's life, something's going on. Maybe, I think.
Everyone's got something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like, we could see that as a slow down of this field in us and a circuitry shifting. And as we shift, as the organic creator energy, the individuals shift, that impacts the shift of the earth.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be here because, you know, it's like at the moment, like the problem is when you keep things in, right? Don't hold it inside. Don't keep it in. Let it out. And that if it's a toroid and we're right, then that's literally the energy pole shift will start taking things out rather than putting them in.
That's right. That's interesting. That's very interesting. And that's exactly what you want to happen to parasites, man. You want to take
Get
them
rid of
out,
them. Get
man.
them out.
Now, the interesting thing about water fasting is that what it actually does to your life, it's a quickening tool. Literally, because you've literally fasted, you've sped up your metabolism, you've got rid of all the junk in your system, you've cleaned it out, you've sped up how everything's working. You've literally gone into an individual quickening. So as a result, and always in my life, and you'll be interested for you to also see this result, Campbell, is that your reality will start quickening. Things will start moving quicker and manifesting quicker and changing quicker. It's like there's a quickening that happens individually after you water fast for a long period of time. It's been my experience. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We've definitely had a lot of change since starting it. Lots going on, but yeah, I've heard this, and
Yeah.
I've definitely, feeling like things are happening a lot faster, right? Because you're getting out of step, right? You're doing something different, and it shakes everything up. I think puts you back in alignment more, where you can see stuff, right? And I was going to mention before too, like with this flip, this is why the world's looking crazy, like it's clown world. It's not because it's clown world, it's because it's always been clown world.
Yeah.
We're just starting to see it. And like, because the energy is changing, we're seeing it for what it is, and we're going, oh my God, what's going
100%.
on?
And doesn't it make sense if you see Egypt as America? Because the focus of the whole world is America. It's all centered around America. America is controlling, like, it appears to be the ones pulling all sorts of things and controlling all the attentions on America. So it would make sense that that's the true Egypt is actually America. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it's so interesting with the whole Vril civilization being looking exactly like ancient Egypt, which would very much attest to me that they're one and the same thing, which means these parasites haven't come from outer realm. They've come
No.
from underground.
Yes, or from a lab maybe, but yeah, this a lot of the stories, right, with all this real energy, is that the wormhole we see in like Stargate, when they go to the God's world, they go through these stargates, right, which are wormholes. And as we said in the last podcast, I think
Fucking
there's
wormholes.
wormholes, right?
That
Literally
was
a hole in the
hilarious.
ground that goes down, to a low level, right? Wormhole.
Yeah, which is literally. So the internet's been based around wormholes and bugs and space,
Yep.
and it's all dark, the dark internet, and the
The
fake
dark web.
blue light. Yes, and the web and the fake blue light. Like, it's
Light.
so indicative of how we would, see the real energy underground. It's so what space is. So like that's fucking the internet. What is it? Starlink.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's a militarized weapon that's like somehow broadcasting a frequency that's supporting this parasitic realm and getting this internet, this underground dark web space internet of wormholes and bugs and total addiction and loose energy, like we're tuned into the dark crystal, into everyone's lounge room. Now, this is the article I first saw on the Vril, Campbell. I just wanted to show it because I keep referring to it and I haven't brought it up yet. Look at that spooky little cover. That's the cover from 1871.
So the Holy Grail almost on a little pedestal, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like like Aladdin's lamp on, All right, so
you're gonna have to do a reading of this, you're gonna have to like start posting on your channel and like read each chapter. Because
so of course
I got you this book, it should be there.
That's right. Campbell's bought it for me for my birthday. Creepy little book.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to put a new cover on it. So basically this book appeared in 1871 anonymously. Oh no, it was published anonymously. Sorry. Okay, so this is who wrote it. Now, isn't that funny? Doesn't he just look like every architect that won every architect like when we were looking at Ontario?
Yeah. All the
I bet
same, pointy nose, beady eyes.
Oh, that's right. He was an English writer and politician. He served as a member of parliament in 1831.
That's right. And he grew up in a massive house.
Yeah, he was Secretary of State for the colonies. Colonies. What a parasitic word is colonies.
Colonized. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at that. It says that he coined famous phrases like almighty dollar and the pen is mightier than the sword.
Ah, dweller on
Interesting.
the threshold. It was a dark and
The
stormy
great
night.
unwashed. Oh,
So yeah, look, he basically grew up. He was all the way through politics. He was all the way through, Cambridge. Basically, he was right up the top of the pyramid as it was unfolding.
Mm.
So, and he's the one that. So basically, you could attest that this guy was not a man of the imagination. He's not someone who sat there and imagined this whole fictional book up. Can you
No.
imagine? No.
And he
He was a
became the
politician.
Earl, didn't he, of Nebworth?
Yep.
And he grew up at Nebworth House, where he grew up, is literally a castle. It's
Yep.
a
He was a
palace.
source of Verdi's operas. He was living in the,
Yeah,
you
he
couldn't
was
get
doing
more.
everything. Yeah, the lives of 10 men kind of thing.
Yep.
See it
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep. All right. So the English Rosicrucian Society, founded in 1861, claimed him as their grand patron.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
So
he's clearly not affected, not told what to do, not part
Yep.
of the agenda.
Yep. So that's life. And isn't it interesting how he died, Campbell? He long suffered from a disease of the ear. And remember, we were just talking about the vril going into the ear.
Yeah.
And for the last 2 or 3 years of his life, he lived in poor health, couldn't cure it. And then he had an abscess form in the ear, a burst. Oh my God, how X-Files parasitic is that?
Mm.
And then died on his 70th birthday.
Buried at
And
Westminster
it was
Abbey. Wow.
it was thought the infection had affected his brain and caused a fit.
And
Interesting.
we know that parasites can literally change your mind, right? They can change your thoughts, your behavior, your actions, and they can get into your brain. So interesting.
That's right. All right. So let's just go back. So he was not a creative style of human being,
It doesn't look
but
it.
nevertheless, he's been attributed with this book. So it's the account of a superior subterranean master race in the energy form called Vril, at least in part. And then we all have heard of the Vril Society. We've heard how it links to Nazis and with Helena Blavatsky, and
Yeah.
even Steiner. Like that's all there. Okay. But I want to tell you about the plot. Okay. So he's a young, wealthy traveler, the narrator, visits friend, mining engineer, falls down a hole. Okay. The narrator finds his way into a subterranean world occupied by beings who seem to resemble angels. He befriends the first being he meets, who guides him around a city that's reminiscent of ancient Egyptian architecture. The explorer meets his host's wife, 2 sons and a daughter who learn to speak English then and there very quickly. The hero discovers that these beings, who call themselves Vrilia, have great telepathic and offer other parapsychological abilities. They can transmit information, get rid of pain, and put others to sleep. Interesting, because that whole technique with the greys of putting people to sleep in the Men in Black.
And the dwarves just sitting
On
on
the
chest.
dwarfs,
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
lead, yeah.
The narrator is offended by the idea that Vrilia are better adapted to learn than he is himself. But anyway, carry on. The narrator soon discovers they're descendants of an antediluvian civilization.
Antediluvian, yeah,
Yep.
before the flood.
Yep, before the flood, called the Anna, who live in networks of caverns linked by tunnels.
The Anna.
The Anna.
Anna, Anunnaki, Anuna.
Yep. Yep. Originally surface dwellers, they fled underground thousands of years ago to escape a massive flood and gained greater power by facing and dominating the hard conditions of the earth. The place where the narrator descended houses 12,000 families, one of the largest groups. It's technologically supported utopia. Chief among their tools being an all-permeating fluid called Vril, a latent source of energy that the spiritually elevated hosts are able to master through training of their will to a degree that depends on their hereditary constitution. So hereditary, so bloodline.
Yep.
And this is so how much is the ritualistic bloodline magic so similar to this sort of thing? The mastery gives them access to an extraordinary force that can be controlled at will. It is this fluid that the Vrilia employ to communicate with the narrator. The powers of the Vril include the ability to heal, change, and destroy beings and things. The destructive powers in particular are immense, allowing a few young Vrilyard children to destroy entire cities if necessary.
Wow.
Then there's some funky thing about the men and women of the society and how the women are actually the stronger and larger than the men, which is interesting with how the satanic agenda has tried to make that true, with men coming into women's sports and the whole transgender thing.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, there's a lot of stories that are like this, like Agartha and Xanadu and all these subterranean cities that we hear about, and Shambhala and like Tibet, and the Buddhists are very connected, aren't they, to underground? They're Shambhala, I think, aren't they? And like they're very connected, which is interesting.
Very.
Why do they shave their heads, right?
I went on a Buddhist rant on the live. All right, so then it goes through the story, and it says, he warns in time that Vrilya will run out of habitable space underground, and because, like essentially the earth is still pretty flat. Like, I don't know how much, like there might only be as much underground as there are surface.
Depends how deep it is, but yeah.
Space underground, and will claim the surface of the earth, destroying mankind in the process if necessary. Okay, so that's generally the story, right? Now, interestingly, the Vril can be changed into the mightiest agency over all types of matter, both animate and inanimate. So, Jay talks about the plasma apocalypse, how it will animate inanimate objects.
Yeah.
It can destroy like lightning or replenish life. It's used to render ways through solid matter. CERN, always tunneling underground. Why is CERN always tunneling underground? Have you guys thought about that? They talk about CERN like being this thing about space almost, the quantum realm, but they're constantly tunneling, making a wormhole underground with CERN.
Yeah, they say it's just to shoot particles around in, but I mean, they've already got particle accelerators, so yeah, it's just another excuse, I think.
It can also be used as a power source for animating mechanisms. Hello, AI.
Energy and AI, right? Depending on the intention behind it.
Exactly. Now, in the good old days, when we get our fantasy movies like Gandalf with his staff, or the wizards with their staffs, or the knights with their fucking flaming swords, or the Jedis, it says here, interesting, the narrator describes it as, so a Vril staff is an object in the shape of a wand or a staff.
It's interesting, isn't it, that in Star Wars, like the enemy, the dark side, are clones, right? All the stormtroopers.
They're all clones,
they're all clones, right? The Clone Wars.
That's right. The AI wars.
And the same with Lord of the Rings. The orcs are this made, that they're a created species.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's true. That's true. So basically, with the real energy in the wrong hands, they want to become gods themselves and be the creator and create soulless beings or soulless things.
And they need avatars, right, to live in.
Yes. But then when it's positively charged, then this real energy becomes that of magic and wizards and healing and all life-giving wonderments. So, I mean, that's all very interesting. Now, a few random things, as I said before. Now, out of this book, which was very popular in the 19th century, and it became known as, the Vril became associated with life-giving elixirs. And in this context, this product came out called Bovril. And I talked about it last. Bovril. Literally, bovine, and vril. And this was given to, it was a beef tea, right? And it's similar to the British Marmite and the Australian Vegemite. Interesting. It's probably got all the same ingredients in it. But Vegemite, Marmite, and Bovril came out at the same time, was pumped across the realm. Every soldier, every person had this in the kitchen. They all had it. So I think that's interesting to note. What was in the Bovril that was so important that it had to be mass produced and what's the word? Exported. Now, the weird thing about this whole thing, just to end on this, and it talks about electricity and fluid it's very fascinating. It's linked very much to the Rosicrucians. and
Helena
Theos.
Blavatsky and all those,
Yeah.
the Theosophy
Yep.
Society, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, where's my
And I
card?
mean, there's another big link there, right? You know, a lot of people sort of link Blavatsky up to what's the evil dude, Crowley, and that you can take
Fuck yeah.
back to John Dee and Victoria the
Yeah.
First, and they were basically calling in spirits, right? This is where seances and spiritualism churches and everything came from.
Yep.
And you have Crowley saying that he actually conjured a creature called Lamb, which,
Yep.
by the way, looks like a grey alien. And so there's this whole backstory to all of these, and they're all connected to the secret societies, all this black magic, conjuring, Ouija boards,
Yep.
all other spirits, and yeah, it's a big. So who are they talking to? That's
Yep.
the question, right?
Yep. And then this obsession with building tunnels everywhere and all the military bases being underground. And this is the extension of all this tunnel building. Anyway, this goes through all the real societies that popped up all over the world, in America, in Britain, in Germany, all this real society everywhere, right? It's just like poof, everywhere. So it was really taken up and into the Nazis. So it's a fascinating look. Now, one weird thing that came out of this was when the book got released, they launched a Vril, Bazaar and Fate. So think about all the World Trade Fairs, right? Similar. And it was basically at the School of Massage and Electricity.
What?
And it was put on at the Royal Albert
Massage
Hall.
and electricity.
Yeah, look, the coming race in Vril Bazaar and in joint aid of the West End Hospital and the School of Massage and Electricity.
That's crazy.
Okay. So it was put at the Royal Albert Hall. That's serious fucking business, people. Look
yeah,
at that
man.
shit. That's a
Yeah.
pantheon right there. What the hell?
That's a speaker. That's what that
It's
is.
1891. And they did this whole thing towards it. So they looked at they basically all got into costume. It was a full-on high society event. It was like, look, this is the illustration of the event. All high society, all had to come in costume, and it was probably like one of the first ever masquerade style things. It went on for days and days, and it was all in tribute and rituals to the Vril. So
I mean, Galvanic Hospital. Tibbetts, the guy who did it, was the founder of the Galvanic Hospital. I mean, galvanic, that's like metals, right?
yeah.
So that's kind of would be like the first kind of pharmacy type stuff when they've gone away from nature and herbs and stuff and into minerals, which is where basically pharmacies came from.
Yep.
Pharmaceuticals.
Isn't it interesting that I mean, that's the program from the event, and that's the title of the book, The Coming Race, and then they're all in the shape of angels. I just think that's very interesting. They're all in the shape of angels.
How would that be for an inversion, right? We're told that the angels came down from above. Maybe they came up from below.
Yep. So the angels coming up from below, which is how the Vril are described. The energy in the hands of this negatively charged Vril and the old technology that we had left over from Atlantis potentially became the ancient Egypt in America and then around the world. The Vril energy may have easily have harnessed that technology and brought about the flood. You know, we hear stories about it being that the Atlanteans did that, but you know, the use of the energy brought about this deluge potentially.
Well, that's what Michelle Gibson thinks happened to the old grid system, right? The macro grid is that it basically was given a big shot of energy and it short circuited, and that like blowing fuses, right?
Yeah,
that's why we get a lot of the destruction, maybe a lot of the melt and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting, right? Because they're talking about energy source, so that could be the source.
So Campbell, where do we go from here? Like, let's bring it back down to life, real under the pyramid. Just remind everyone that we're all proudly under the pyramid at this point.
The pyramid, yes. I'm under
and if you've done, lots of people have asked me. Just side note, how you can get rid of parasites and what the process is to get rid of parasites. And there's heaps of stuff you can do. Just like find something intuitively that feels right to you. Like we did water fasting, you know, but I did herbs as well. I did herbs beforehand. You know, ivermectin is a freaking parasite cleanse.
Yep.
Not,
Gum
not.
turpentine. I've done gum turpentine before.
Yeah,
And you can buy other herbal type remedies as well. A lot of people would talk about wormwood, right? Of course, they're worms. So there's a lot you can do.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I just will always choose fasting because it seems to be the most extreme thing, but the most gentle thing. It's the most natural thing. Because when I did the herbs for 3 weeks, I just was not conscious enough of how much that would have wiped out my gut biome going into the water fast.
Mm.
So I would be like, our focus today, everyone, from after pre-flood, post-flood, post-water flood, is to get our gut biomes like super healthy. And that's now about getting all the good bacteria into, like, getting rid of the parasites, all the parasite and all that shit's out of your system. And then you've got all this good stuff coming in, which in my household looks like handmade sauerkraut,
Yogurt,
handmade special yogurt,
broth.
or broth, yep, lard. That's what it looks like from my house. But you know, whatever you do.
Oh, it's interesting that there's all this talk about parasites taking control of their hosts' minds, right? And a lot of ancient cultures, and they're sort of starting to rediscover it now, is that the stomach, the gut is the second brain.
Yep.
So, and that's literally what they're attacking, right?
Probably the first brain. The gut is probably
Exactly.
the
It
first
could
brain.
exactly right. So they could literally be
Yeah.
taking over your brain, your
Yeah,
mind.
which it would make total sense if you're full of like, if you've
That's
like
what they're
laid
attacking,
a
right?
bed of food for them for sure.
Like everything in
Sure.
our world is done against us, and it looks
Yeah.
like for a better habitat for the parasite, right? The
Yeah.
worm.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, all your good work today would be to fast those parasites out and then put some attention onto your gut biome. And those two actions, like, are going to be really well seated for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know that another 12 months of those two focuses for us, and Campbell and I will be like, oh, so many of the things we want to achieve and experience will be like well on their way. Because vibrationally, there's nothing interfering with us, you know, there's nothing like like affecting our thoughts or affecting our mood or like distracting us, you know, it's all been
Flushed
cleared
out.
out, yeah, and maintained
Yeah,
a
that's the thing. You got
certain
to get rid of it, but then you've got to not let it go back to the way it was, right? So fermented foods, like you said, sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurts, but as we found out, you can't buy any of this stuff from the supermarket.
no,
It's all crap. What
yeah,
I think that we learned that they ferment sauerkraut for something like 4 hours when it has to be done for 3 or 4 days to actually
yeah.
be beneficial to you. So everyone go out and buy a sauerkraut kit and a yogurt maker.
Yeah, I mean, like there would be two very well suited tools for today, and the rife machine, and you know, it just, I mean, we're maturing our tool bag, we're upscaling our tool bag, you know, and it's getting more and more specific and more focused and more knowledge and we're turning it into more and more wisdom, you know. So it's very cool, like, because ultimately, once you turn it into your wisdom, you're wearing that. Once you turn into your wisdom, it's you, man. You are that thing that
You
is
become
like
it.
walking around. You become it. So, I mean, that's super cool, right?
Yeah. Definitely. You know, again, this is why it's good to be at the bottom of the pyramid, right? We have the choice to do this. We can heal ourselves. We get a choice to eat the right food. You know, that might not always be the easiest choice, but we can still get organic food. We can make our own, you know, sauerkrauts and
Yeah.
kimchis, grow our own vegetables, all this kind of
Yep.
stuff,
Yep.
and basically make the gut best for us, right? Not
Yep.
for the parasite.
It's true. It's true. And I don't even know once they've taken the parasite, if like the one a next level up, if you can get rid of it. I don't know if many celebrities get to be able to get rid of it or ever find peace again. Like
No,
it's literally sort of
only if
like feels
you
like,
meet Trinity and you're in the Matrix and she has that little sucky machine to suck it out
oh,
of your
that's
belly
right.
button.
Yeah, that's right. You need high tech, which may come in the new use of the energetics. But anyway, I mean, that was a very like random
It
podcast,
was
and
very random. We hope that made some kind of sense. Leave us a comment.
I mean, Campbell and I just like we're just chewing on trying to figure out the origin of where this sort of sits in the timeline, somewhere between ancient Egypt and Tartaria and Christ and Source. You know, like where all that sort of works in together and like forging a way forward.
Yeah, and just connecting that something's come across. And I've had this thought for ages. Like I've literally had the picture in my mind of like after the flood and someone crawling up on a beach, but it's the wrong person. It's the bad one, right? So something's come across the flood, like come across the epochs, the ages, and brought that evil with it, right? And then obviously, Egypt's one of the first places we talk about, and then you got Christianity, and there's a lot of people in research saying Christianity is basically just repackaged Egyptian religion, right? So that puts gives a line straight from antediluvian to the New Testament, right? And then obviously since then we can just look around to see what's happened in the world.
It's so obvious from that perspective. It's so obvious that we never left ancient Egypt, that we are still under their like control. We're still living as ancient Egyptians. Like that's the moment it seemed to have started.
Fully,
and that is Christianity right
now we're
there.
not all in the know, right? All the secret societies, they all started in ancient Egypt, they're all going. But yeah, most of us don't know what's happening, right? Because and all of those secret societies, we know what they do. They're all evil. They're all into weird stuff, control, manipulation, and a takeover. So, but this is the thing. This is how we beat the takeover, right? We don't have to go out and fight things outside of us. We just have to clear our temple, cast out the demons, and become more of who we are. And that's something we can actually all do. We don't have to sit there going, "How do I change the whole world?"
That's right, Campbell.
Change yourself.
Yes, it's so true. We don't have to do anything but take care of our vehicle perceiving this reality, our vehicle perceiving this reality. I absolutely bring it all back to that.
Because if what is it, 2/3 of people have what's it called, that parasite worm, what's it called?
The toxoplasmatic.
Toxoplasmosa.
Yeah.
And it can control your thoughts. It can control people's minds and that. Like literally, are we seeing a world that's different to the one that's actually there? If we clear all this stuff out, is that the new earth? Suddenly we can see with new eyes, right? As I think that comes from the Bible somehow.
Yes.
Like, is this the awakening? The ascending? Is that what this is?
Yes, and I'll give you the one-liner for the whole show, right? Here's our one-liner. So instead of receiving reality, you're going to start perceiving reality again. You clean out your vehicle, you clean out the parasites and the interference. You will no longer be receiving reality.
Good.
You will be perceiving it. And that's where we need to go. That's the aim of the game.
Yeah. Start perceiving, conceiving, and stop perceiving.
Yeah, nice. We have been brought into a society that receives.
Literally. Tune into the TV, right?
Literally. All right.
Yeah. So
well, there you go. That was a good one-liner there.
That was a great one-liner.
I should turn that. That'll be the title of the show.
I think that's going to have to be the title. Yeah, we've come up with it. A very good thumbnail.
All right, everyone. I think we've gone on. We've yabbed on enough tonight.
Yes, man. That's about 2 hours. So there you go.
I know. My
Friday again, guys. So there you go. We've done it again. And we'll be back next Friday.
Yay.
Same Tartarian channel, same Tartarian time. But yes, please leave us a comment. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, like if you find these topics interesting, share them around. And we're also starting to make shorts. Little clips of hopefully our interesting points. So check them out because they're easier to share, right? Like than most people. 2 hours of us rabbiting away.
I want 100,000 people to come together. I want us to do this. I want to live out this reality. I want that experience.
Yeah.
So we've got to go to get everywhere. And by the way, the live we did last week got banned. I got chucked off Facebook. I mean, YouTube. My
How
YouTube
crazy.
channel, which sits at such a bit 7,000, it hasn't moved for like 5 years, is
And
completely and utterly so
mine's
blocked.
still up. We did it live on my channel. I didn't have a problem. Kelly put it up and got banned for a week, and they took the video down.
Yeah, I
What the
know.
hell? How crazy.
I'm always going to be
You're in their
underground.
spotlight, man. They're onto
I'm
you.
always going to be underground.
I must still be skirting under the radar a little bit.
That's because you're so cruisy and casual,
Oh
man.
man, I'm
It's
so
like,
balanced and cruisy.
yeah,
Can't see
yeah, what a legend.
man.
All right. Well, look, love you, man. All right, love you guys. And that was fun. And we will see you next Friday. Come
You
what
will.
may.
Yeah, on Tatara, Australia. Stay awesome.
See you guys. Bye.